Hello, everyone. James Williams, Mystic and Activity here. Fantastic to have you with us live. And if you're watching this recorded, also a very, very warm welcome to another webinar from Vox Solutions, looking at the whole area of business messaging. Now, many of you watching this, whether live or recorded, will have seen me around the world the past few years talking about A2P SMS in particular. A2P SMS, after all, has been around actually since December the 3rd, 1992. And as a result, it's become the central pillar of customer engagement around the world in many, many different countries. But it's under pressure. And a big change I've noticed is actually that more and more mobile network operators are looking to play directly themselves in the business messaging market and not just leave everything up to third-party aggregators. And there are plenty of things mobile network operators around the world can do to optimize the market for them in terms of A2P SMS. And we're going to be talking about the pricing aspect today. Joining me, I'm pleased to have Sam Barker, who is the VP of Messaging Research with Juniper Research, and Teodor Maguriano, who is Head of Business Development for Vox Solutions. Sam, Teodor, lovely to have you both with me.
Thanks for having us, James. Pleasure to be here, the both.
Yeah, great to be here.
Great. Now, Sam is being a researcher. It makes sense that we frame the following discussion, and there's no one better than Sam to do exactly that. So Sam, please take it away with a little market overview, because I think, as I just mentioned, A2P SMS certainly is under pressure at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. If we could move the slides along, please. What we'll be doing is we'll be going through Juniper Research's view, a bit of market context, and if you could just move on to the A2P SMS market snapshot slide. What I'll do is I will talk you through what Juniper Research has seen in the A2P SMS market from our independent research. So if you just move a couple slides along, I think, please. And one more. Thank you very much. So what we're seeing is at the moment, as James said, the market for A2P SMS is in a bit of turmoil. Over the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of different factors that have contributed to initially a slowing of growth. And over the last year or so, there has been a decline in demand for A2P SMS. Part of what we'll be talking over today is sort of the remedial action for A2P SMS messaging. What we're seeing is a combination of factors, things like fraud, artificially inflated traffic, or SMS pumping. There's also increased prices owing to operators looking to retain their A2P SMS revenues. Additionally, on top of that, there is the element of OTT business messaging, WhatsApp primarily, that is more and more taking more of a market share of the traffic in A2P SMS. What we're seeing is, if you can look at the graph to the right, at the moment, what Juniper Research is predicting as an independent analyst house is that A2P SMS traffic will continue to decline for many different reasons. The alternative channels are becoming a bit more popular. But the one caveat that I would like to add to that graph is that there will obviously be opportunities for remedial action, and that's what we'll be talking about today. There are strategies that can be put in place to essentially reverse this trend, slow down the decline, even return it to growth in some instances. But as we're seeing at the moment, the state of the A2P SMS market is not as healthy as it has been in the past few years. What we're seeing is very different, a very diverse set of factors in the market that are contributing to this growth. And as I said, with the alternative channels, more and more what we're seeing is international A2P SMS, most of that being for one-time passwords and authentication, and the alternative channels that are coming available now are putting real pressure on the A2P SMS. But what I'll do now is I'll hand over to Theodore, who's going to talk you through about a few more things in detail.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for the context, and thank you, James, for the introduction on this. I think you are right. It is changing, but here I think we need to look at two different things, and I think that's, it's a bit paradoxical, right? So if we could go to the next slide. See, business communication is increasing, right? We've discussed this in previous discussions. Enterprises need to talk more to customers, right? That with personalization, with engagement, that just grows. The demand for business communication is surging, yet A2P SMS use is decreasing on both international A2P SMS and on the national side. Now, really, the personalization aspect of it, the engagement aspect of it, these are really concerning national A2P SMS more than international A2P SMS, correct? We know, as we've talked in the past, for international business communication, the majority of this business messaging is, it's regarding to one-time passwords or the security aspect of it. Whereas on the local side, it's way more flavorful, right? I mean, there are enterprises that are running campaigns for promotions, for notifications, for 2FA, and this is really the place where things are changing. Now, we know, right, the majority of us in the call, I would assume, that international A2P SMS has reached a peak a few years back. We've obviously worked with Juniper Research to discuss about this. The GSMA has also mentioned that, right? But it's the first time where we're actually seeing that local A2P SMS is at risk in terms of market size. And the question, I mean, before we address what can be done, the question really is, why is that the case? We need to understand the root causes very well, I believe, in order to devise strategies around how that can be sorted. So as Sam has mentioned, this is happening mostly as SMS loses ground to other channels, right? Demand for communication is there, demand for communication is growing, but the use of SMS in this demand is not as strong as before. So SMS loses ground, right? What does it lose ground? It loses ground to alternative channels, which are mostly IP-based channels, OTT channels. We're talking here about rich communication, RCS, WhatsApp for Business, and any other for business messaging platforms developed by third parties outside of the MNO ecosystem, right? Why is that happening? Well, we've worked with McKinsey last year, and there was one as a survey, and that survey said that 99% plus, I don't remember the exact, whether it was 99.1 or 99.5, but 99 point something percent of the people that used WhatsApp for Business or RCS/RBM used it because it was cheaper than A2P SMS. So that's the first thing to understand, right? It seems that WhatsApp as a company obviously wants to grow adoption. That's done by a penetration pricing strategy, right? So it needs to be cheaper for it to reach a critical mass, let's say. And today, in many markets, WhatsApp is cheaper than local A2P SMS. The second thing is the pricing structure, and that's the central topic of today's webinar, right? SMS is one size fits all in terms of pricing, in the sense that SMS has a price of whatever 2 cents. Yes, we can provide, and operators are providing discounts, right, for certain aggregators or enterprises that are buying, for example, in bulk, right? So volume-based discounts, tiered pricing. But whether we're sending an SMS for a promotion or for two-factor authentication message, it's the same price. That's very different with WhatsApp and with other services. With WhatsApp, and we'll go into it further, if you're sending a message with the scope of sending a promotion to mobile users, it costs you 5 cents. If you want to send a 2FA code, it costs you 3 cents. And if you want to send a notification like your DHL parcel is coming tomorrow, it costs you 1 cent. So on the back of that, what happens is specifically this notification layer, which is the cheapest, is the one that migrates first to other channels. And that's what we've seen in many markets. And This specifically also happened in Indonesia and other larger markets, which OTT platforms obviously also prioritized to join in terms of attractive market size. Lastly, it's rich, right? SMS has a limit of certain number of characters, but until now, SMS has been without visuals, without analytics, right? It's the channel that we know. Whereas these OTT channels are starting to provide, obviously, the capability of content being rich, which helps brands in terms of awareness. Using logo, etc. Or if we're talking about promotional A2P SMS, the click-through rate and all these other things that come with higher engagement from visuals become important. Lastly, you can track to some extent the results, right? With A2P SMS, it's a bit more difficult to do that. If you look at the metrics and performance of a marketing campaign, for example. But in short, these are the main things. The number one driver is cost. It is cheaper, but it's cheaper for specific segments. And this is what we believe need to understand and discuss, because certainly putting A2P SMS at the floor price below whatever WhatsApp has is not the solution that will take us forward. It will stabilize the situation, but it will not make CFOs happy. So there is a better alternative to that. However, before we go into it, I'd like to discuss a bit why preserving this is important. I'm quite how do I put it? Hung up on it. Like I strongly believe in this. Sam has mentioned that the market is going down. We understand now why. The question is, why is that important and why should we care? So if we could go to the next slide, I believe that there are a few reasons for which A2P SMS needs to be preserved. And the moment to do it is now. Why is it now? It's because we've seen the voice market has seen challenges. We've seen that international A2P SMS has challenges. In both of these markets, we've actually signaled it before it happened. Local A2P SMS is under pressure, but it is not under pressure in the majority of markets where we have people tuning in from today. Local A2P SMS today is under pressure within very large markets, Indonesia, Brazil, markets like Egypt, etc., of a very high number of mobile users, or in markets that are quite developed in terms of GDP per capita or high ARPU per mobile user. So we're talking about the countries in the Gulf, for example, or Hong Kong is, for example, one case, or the west of Europe. But there it's today's problem, right? Or it's been a problem for a year. In the other markets, it's a problem that it's coming in now. WhatsApp has lowered its prices, and it's something that is just about right in terms of timing for us to be able to preserve this. Now, why is it worth preserving? I think there's few things, because honestly, every enterprise team is thinking, but what about these other channels? What is the strategy implication for me? Can I partner on that? Is that a good idea? What should I do with A2P SMS? And I hope this is the question that we will all answer together today. And I kindly ask all of you, if you have questions, please always drop them. We'll be happy to discuss throughout the presentation. The first thing is control. SMS is something that operators control, right? It's a own MNO channel, if you want. We control it in terms of ecosystem. Yes, not fully, but we control it to the extent of 90%. RCS or WhatsApp for Business are very different, right? So I know there are certain operators that have decided to resell WhatsApp for Business to their local markets. It's not for me to say if it's right or wrong. But what I can say is that in that moment, when the adoption of this kind of channel grows, you lose control, right? And that's something that one needs to be okay with, in the sense that today SMS has let's call it the production cost of almost zero. The variable cost of A2P SMS is close to zero, right? The gross profit or the gross margin calculator that comes from local A2P SMS goes into the P&L. It's a great contribution towards the bottom line. Let's say we're selling today A2P SMS at 5 cents in the market. If we sell WhatsApp, then we have a cost of 2 cents, 3 cents, 4 cents that goes to Meta, goes to any other provider of that service. that cost cannot really be controlled, because you can have a contract to a fixed price for a couple of years, but in 3 years, anyone can come and say, I'm sorry, the cost is double, right? And then the margins are thinner and thinner and thinner, but at that point, control has been lost, right? When the adoption of these channels grows, it's obviously more difficult to stop it compared to what we're having today. So SMS is something that we can control, whereas other channels are channels that cannot be controlled to that extent. Financial performance, as I've mentioned, SMS has no cost. Reselling any other platform has a cost. So knowing that the selling price is probably the same, the contribution that any such message would bring would be lower than what operators are receiving today for A2P SMS. So in that sense, that also doesn't make sense. And lastly, I strongly believe SMS can do more, much more than what it does today. We will talk about this towards the end of the webinar, but SMS today comes in one flavor in terms of price, and it's a channel that we know, and we know how it's developed in the past. But let's say SMS is not as, I would call it rich, smart, whatever we want to call it, compared to competing channels, but it really has the potential to be, and it's honestly not so difficult to make it like that. And that's something that I'm honestly passionate about at a personal level. I hope that you will be too. But I think SMS is the foundation for doing much more. And that specifically within the advertising space, but I would like to deep dive a bit more on. What I'm hinting at is SMS has remained in the same form, right? To some extent from its emergence, but I believe it is about time, and we have the means to power up SMS and turn it into a SMS 2.0 if you want, which could give it, the right fighting chance and a winning chance for sure against all these other channels. I'll stop there because I know that I've been discussing.
No, Theodore, if I can come in very, very quickly. I've just been actually looking at my phone the past week, looking at big global brands, and I've seen Amazon has contacted me multiple times via SMS with an embedded link regarding deliveries. So they use SMS a lot. And I'm, by the way, everyone, I'm in the UK. And Microsoft, eBay, and they still call themselves Twitter when they send SMS, but of course it's X, have all sent me two-factor authentications via SMS. And all of this has been in the past week. So it's definitely still going on. There is definitely still a market. It hasn't just disappeared overnight, but it is under threat. And the thing I see, and the thing we've got to all remember, doesn't matter what country you're in, but we cannot, none of us can guarantee 24/7, 365 reliable Wi-Fi, broadband, etc., etc. And at the end of the day, no matter how far forward you look, there will always be a requirement to have essentially a non-internet, a non-IP based means of communication, if but for emergency services and emergency updates. But we are way off that. And with 5.25 billion mobile subscribers around the world having access to SMS, mobile operators essentially managing that last mile connection to subscribers, and the fact as well should be omnipresent. And perhaps Vox cannot say this, but as Mr. Connectivity, I can say this. And I can say mobile operators, you've got to understand that with WhatsApp, with RCS business messaging, all the details from the enterprises that you might be servicing, etc., all goes to Meta, all goes to Google. And at the end of the day, both could essentially cut you out overnight from the equation. They would not blink, they would not bat an eyelid, they would lose no sleep from it. And Theodore mentioned an amazing point, that the margin for an extra SMS into your network monetized is probably around 99%. So it's a huge margin opportunity, and it's something to be safeguarded and protected. So yeah, thank you. Thanks, Theodore.
Cheers. I know we see eye to eye on this, and I think most of the people
100%.
do see eye to eye on this. And I think you're right. I mean, listen, SMS's adoption is high, right? I mean, I think it's the right thing for us to look ahead of time and try to prevent, right, any potential decrease at this point, because in 3 years we won't be able to say that we were not informed, right? So that's why on our side we've developed different strategies to do that, and I'm sure that everyone else in the call has already taken steps. So I know that I kindly ask people to ask questions, but I might ask some questions of my own to do I've joined.
Yeah. Do you know what, Tedo? I was a very, very bad moderator. Everyone, I apologize. I forgot to say, of course, if you have any questions for anybody or any statements, please feel free to use the Q&A function. Very poor, Mr. Connectivity, but there we go. We also, by the way, have the founder and CEO of Vox Solutions with us. Ehsan, hey, how are you?
Hey, James.
Have you got anything further to add at this point, or has Theodore covered everything?
Good to see you
by now. Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar. Sam, Theodore, and everyone from our partners and mobile network operators. I mean, I think it was covered already by you and Theodore. That's we live the experience of Voice International, I think, right? And even now local voice that mobile network operators ended up to lose a lot of revenue and ground, and in some countries even the relevance when it comes to Voice International. I mean, now everyone in many countries using only WhatsApp to call international or other OTTs. Nobody in some countries, very limited number of users, mostly enterprises nowadays using voice to call abroad. Retail customers mostly use WhatsApp. It is free of charge, and unfortunately, it's pity to say, in some cases even works better than international voice calling through mobile network operators, because there is a lot of middleman in between. They do a lot of junky thing, a lot of dodgy stuff, and to play and offer better rates and cost, then they compromise on quality. And sometimes WhatsApp working better to call abroad than using mobile, and this is quite pity. We try now to prevent this happening for A2P as well, and we have a chance, because compared to P2P, compared to P2P, WhatsApp cannot afford offering it for free, right? Free of charge. Because if they offer it also this one for free of charge, like P2P, then where they don't have many options to monetize WhatsApp and their stuff. So the good thing is that they are charging for it. It's not free of charge. If it was free of charge, it was very hard to compete with, right? But it is not free of charge. That's the good news. But at the same time, it's more competitive with than mobile network operators in most of the cases, and the pricing is very different. It's dynamic, it's per use case. I'm gonna let you deep dive into it. So there is still time to fight back, to fight with these guys and keep SMS still the king. If we don't take action, most likely we end up with the same story like voice P2P, that SMS will become just kind of very obscure channel used time by time by some enterprise or some brands where other apps are not available. So that means we should expect then similar also trajectory of revenue like in voice P2P, which in some markets 90% of the revenue, 95% of the revenue were lost, right? And this time I think in voice it took 10 years, but we are not leaving now the things happening much faster, and brands and enterprise are faster than people and MNOs, and so we can expect, if MNOs doesn't take a proper action, if we look at the trajectory of voice P2P in 2, 3, 4 years, the SMS national and international to be gone, and OTTs to take it over. So
Ehsan, great point. about interjecting, but we have a question from our audience from Rami Hanawi. A very good question. And I can certainly answer that if nobody else wants to. Has any banking service around the globe migrated their OTP verification codes from SMS to other alternative IP channels? The answer is yes, Rami. I know a couple in South Africa who've got very, very innovative. And because mobile data can be expensive for people, what they do is they allow people, even if most people in South Africa have prepaid phones and prepaid devices. So they actually allow people to have the free data. So whether it's MTN, Vodacom, or whatever, and it's basically the bank sponsors the data packet used for that session for the verification. And that is starting to happen in South Africa. It will happen in other places around the world. So the answer is yes, some banking services, some banks have migrated away from traditional SMS verification codes, and others.
Please, can I please build up on that? I mean,
please go. Yeah,
it's a good question, and from a knowledgeable person as well, for who knows Rami. The question is extremely on point. Why? Because banking traffic, and specifically one-time password banking traffic, is significant in terms of national A2P SMS, right? So, Rami, you're right in asking, because this is the first section that you want to preserve, right? And the sizable chunk, let's say. What James is saying is correct. I do believe that it's an outlier situation. Yeah. I think yes, that can happen in 10 years from now, for example, at a wide scale, if you want, or 5 to 10 years. I mean, honestly, in today's world, a lot of things move fast, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in a shorter time frame than that. Still, I believe that will be the last segment of traffic that will rather move towards alternatives for a few reasons. Sure, the security aspect of it. Let's be honest, WhatsApp for Business is not safer than A2P SMS is. It has its own blind spots. They're just less discussed about today, but these will grow as adoption grows. And so banking traffic could, for example, of use case pricing of WhatsApp shift on the notification side of things first, rather than having the one-time password traffic of its shift. At least that's my personal opinion. Yet, the notifications segment of the local traffic share, in some markets, it's 40%. So even if the banking traffic is preserved, still from a notification side, these can migrate easily because this is where WhatsApp has the cheapest price. Normally, it's cheaper than local A2P SMS for that segment. And the problem of that is not only that it's tough to get it back, but it is valuable in terms of information. And we will talk about this towards the end of the presentation. But that specifically, A2P SMS and notification, that has a lot of power if you know how to use that knowledge well. So I think there is a case for this sort of traffic migrating. I do think, however, that this is not the first, for sure, not the first type of traffic that will go to. Yes, it can happen in progressive countries, but if we're talking about a widespread thing, I don't expect it to be the case. Plus, the regulators, local regulators, also will have a say in this, and as operators and the banking system will also have a say in that.
Indonesia has banned the usage of OTTs for verification for banks, for example. So yeah, that certainly has protected that market to a degree. Great, thank you.
I'd like if we go. I know also
actually we can have even in the example. I think Rami, we talk about Palestine. I don't know what is I'm not sure if the local rate. I recall the local SMS rates that are around 2-3 cents in Palestine. In Meta WhatsApp offering at 0.9 cents, and with the tire pricing, it goes down further down to 0.7 cents. 0.7 cents. I mean, less than 1 cent. So imagine you cannot compete. The only area that they are selling at 3 cents, 3.4 cents, and with the tire pricing could go to around 2.9 cents is marketing use case. The rest of them are use cases like OTP and notification are $0.9 cents to $0.7 cents. So, and the market is quite sensitive, especially to notification, and can easily go to shift even for 20-30% cheaper. But in some markets, we see WhatsApp actually come 70%, 60% below the SMS local rate. So that's why we believe if we don't take action now, less than 2-3 years, SMS, almost all the SMS use cases, local and international, will be gone. And I will not be surprised, because these guys, they have this mentality or philosophy that the winner takes all. So they are for dominance. The companies like WhatsApp, they don't come to just take 10%, 20% of the market. If they come after a business, they come after all. So I think still is time. We are here to help. We can deep dive and discuss further, but just to be very specific on Palestine market and to your question, WhatsApp right now is much cheaper and more competitive than SMS, and it is the case of almost all the markets in the world. So they look at the SMS rate, they go below SMS rate like 50%, something like that, to be like no-brainer for brands and for companies to shift. And then later on, maybe they increase or whatever, or they can subsidize, because there is many other use cases like conversation, I don't know, other type of engagement. But at least today, they try to chase SMS and take over all the use cases around SMS with a very competitive prices.
Thank you, Ehsan. Okay, let's move to the next slide, please.
Yeah, I think we're a bit short on time, but I'll try to be as succinct as I can. So
as usual,
it emerges that pricing is the most important aspect, right? And it's exactly what we're discussing today now. If we go to the next slide, the reason for which, on international A2P SMS, pricing has been more dynamic. On the local side, it has not been the case. I have the luxury of meeting hundreds of operators every year, and I only count on probably on the fingers from one or maximum both hands, the ones that are looking at A2P SMS pricing every year on the local side, right? The reason for that is this local A2P SMS is different. It's a double-edged sword. First, it will be possible for us to preserve local A2P SMS because operators have a good relationship with the local enterprises, right? That's much tighter relationship than with international brands. On the other hand side, operators also sell, as you guys know, other services towards these same enterprises, to the local banks, to the local retailers, to the utility companies, to the courier companies, right? You're not only providing A2P SMS. So for that reason, enterprise teams are reluctant in growing A2P SMS price in order to avoid friction, because there are other services at play, right? And for that is the historical pressure of price on local A2P SMS, which does not exist in international A2P SMS, or it is felt to a much lower extent. Now, so we have a reluctance to grow prices in the market, right? And this really is, I know so many places we're partnering with operators, and I have so many discussions. Inflation is gone up. The price of electricity has doubled in the past 10 years. The price of local A2P SMS has remained the same. That needs to change eventually, and it's the time to do it now. No one is saying that the price of A2P SMS should triple. Definitely not. But we're here in a market where any 5%, 10%, 15% is something that can be decent, obviously based on other country analysis and operator analysis on what exists in the market. Yeah, but to that historical pricing pressure, we now add the pricing pressure that comes from OTTs. It's cheaper and it comes in different flavors. So how do we as operators embed that and make SMS more competitive today? This is really the key aspect to crack. And I will hand it over to Sam. I think he wants to talk a bit more about different pricing models, and then we can discuss specifically of how this is actually put in place and what are the steps to put this through the value chain.
Yeah, go to the next slide then, please. I'll just talk you through the pricing models that we have. In one more slide. Thank you very much. Yeah, so obviously one of the things we do need to mention is with the white paper that we've co-produced, there is differences between international and domestic, and what we've just been discussing. And obviously, there needs to be strategies to sort of reposition SMS as we see it now. We've mentioned, SMS 2.0, and we're discussing pricing. But one of the things three things, should I say, that we've talked about, obviously, things like value-based pricing. Now, realistically, when you think about what SMS is, and paying as an enterprise, if you're paying for the service itself is largely the same to everyone. But the value of that service, it does differ from enterprise to enterprise. Essentially, if you take the mission critical traffic, if you're talking about a delivery notification from DHL, then that's not necessarily going to be along the lines of something that needs timely delivery or something that needs guaranteed termination. But if you're thinking of something, the biggest use case in A2P SMS by a long way is authentication, OTPs, MFA. You do need that timely delivery. For any enterprise that's using MFA, if you are that enterprise, you need to ensure that that message is delivered within seconds or a couple of minutes to make sure that essentially the user experience remains pretty good. So the ability to sort of move to dynamic pricing, make sure that maybe from a use case point of view or a value point of view, that enterprises are paying for essentially what they value the service as, rather than the service itself. Then that's one way of moving to dynamic pricing. And obviously, the other side is looking at tier-based pricing. So obviously, there are agreements in place between enterprises and the service providers, the operators themselves, to use a certain amount of traffic. If they have a certain amount, number of users, and they have historical data on how much traffic they sent out, and they can look at growth forecasts, then they can make a pretty good estimate of how much SMS they're going to need over a certain period. If those enterprises are committing to that amount of traffic over a certain period, then there could be opportunities for different pricing, guaranteed that they will use it, essentially operating sort of on a wholesale agreement in the future. So, in the long run, you're looking at, as an enterprise, a lower cost per SMS for A2P. If you talk about one-time passwords, and user verification, and those use cases that are very easily forecastable, is a good alternative. And for the operator, it means that they can more accurately predict how much traffic, how much revenue they're going to get from A2P SMS. So, overall, those sorts of agreements can be very, very beneficial. And the other side that I know Theodore's mentioned before, but the alternative channels, and talking about looking at what's happening in certain markets, how the price of WhatsApp can be a lot more cost effective for enterprises. We've seen it in a lot of different countries, and James is also talking about how in some countries it's been banned essentially to protect that revenue. It's a very it's an approach that needs to be taken with a lot of consideration. What is the pricing of WhatsApp? From WhatsApp's point of view, it's very centralized. They can change their pricing relatively quickly, or much quicker than other stakeholders in the market. And if you're an operator or an enterprise, you're going to remain a bit vigilant. Enterprises, from clinical researchers, research into the market, it's very, very price sensitive. much more than any other digital services that we cover. So in the long run, what you're looking for is, from an operator's point of view, optimize revenue. Also, as markets grow and they become a bit more saturated with it. Larger enterprises already using it. One thing Juniper Research has identified over the last few years is obviously the access to small to medium enterprises. And, SMS, has been mentioned before, very ubiquitous, very easy to use. As SMS demand becomes saturated, then be able to target SMEs, smaller companies that still can use it. It's very very important. And lastly, obviously, is the customer segmentation side of using SMS, the ability to be able to essentially put your customers into buckets and ensure different, they basically maximize the benefits of using SMS. If we could just sort of go on to the next slide. I think this one is for me, Theodore. Something that I've just been just talking about now is obviously the sort of the tiered pricing element of what we're talking about. Obviously, what SMS has been doing over the last few years is prices have been growing, but before that, prices were over the number of years relatively stable. Now, from an enterprise's point of view, that makes it more cost efficient. There was less to predict, but what we've seen over the last few years, obviously, is how this price is rising, and we've seen that obviously that impact that's had on the market. From Juniper Research's perspective, we are independent. Obviously, we do look at all technologies equally. We don't try to be cheerleaders for a market. But one thing I've always said, and I've had this in conversations with James in the past, is there will always be some form of demand for SMS. There will, the way the technology has grown, almost the value of it sometimes just lies in its simplicity for enterprises, the ability to send out very simple areas. But from the pricing side of things, it's this intelligent pricing element. So with all the data that's available today, having some form of dynamic pricing in which the operators can maximize the value of it, or maximize the revenue from SMS by comparing it to the value, or maybe even the time of day, or the demand, or from Juniper Research's point of view, the pricing of alternative channels. More and more are rising. There's going to be more support for things like WhatsApp, and not just within the messaging ecosystem itself, but APIs and identity APIs and even things like RCS in the future as well. It's very much a convolution of multiple different factors, multiple different sort of impacts that are really needs to drive how we view SMS today. It's really a case of the pricing itself can be more dynamic, and it's very as you say, there's a lot more to be done. Sorry, Theodore, I think I was interrupting you.
No, I think it wasn't me interrupting you. I think James and I think, Sam, if you're okay, I'll take it from here in the purpose of time. So we have time for questions also at the end. I think we all agree, and I thank you for sharing that. So the question is, how does this exactly go into play? And if we could go to actually a few slides down, not to the next one, but 2 slides from the next one. Here we see, for example, I think most of you know it, like this is a snapshot from WhatsApp, right? This is, if you go on WhatsApp business pricing, this is what you'll find. For different countries or regions, a dedicated price, and that price will change, right? Whether that is a authentication message, marketing, a utility, or a service message. So how do we put it with A2P SMS, how it works? Could go to the next slide. Basically, this can be mirrored. Yeah, and we talk here about having a couple of prices. If we can go to the next slide, we can have one in local A2P SMS, one price for notifications, right? They should always be cheapest and match the price of WhatsApp or any other competing channel. One for one-time passwords, right? And one for promotions. If we're talking about marketing A2P SMS. This tends to be most expensive within WhatsApp just because sometimes, I mean, they don't want people to be, let's say, bombarded, right, with marketing campaigns. And also this drives value for the enterprises. So it's a win-win, right? That's why it's called value-based, because there is also return on investment that certain message will have. Lastly, we have something interesting here, which is what we haven't talked about much until yet, which is there can be a fourth tier. And this is where SMS can really evolve into being a channel that competes with the others. Sure, we need value-based pricing in order to match pricing and be competitive, right, with the strategies of WhatsApp. This is business, right? Another technology can emerge. We should evolve. SMS, actually, SMS pricing has been quite dynamic for international A2P, so it's only normal that this would hit local markets as well. But SMS can do more. And here we're talking about two different concepts. One is targeted A2P SMS, so understanding for a promotional use case who you're actually sending it to, sending A2P SMS for promotions on traveling to frequent travelers, for example, to restaurants, to people that go out to restaurants, to luxury products for luxury consumers, let's say, right? Which today doesn't exist in A2P SMS. I mean, it is done to some extent in different operators in different forms, but it's normally something that is not scalable and very granular. Like most of us have some segmentation today, right? But that segmentation is not to the extent to which marketeers are using it to allocate a significant budget. So we can do better with that. We can do target A2P SMS, and we can do reach SMS, which is something that we're gonna talk about very soon. So what do we need to do all of these things? We need obviously partnerships, and we need some technology to do it. So if we can go to the next section. This is a project of on the next slide. I mean, monetizing local A2P SMS is it's a project in itself. There are a few things to be done normally. The first one is obviously stop bypass before touching prices. You need to know that you have bulletproof protection, so to say. That's a foundation, right? The steps 2 and 3 are pricing. It's what we've talked about. Looking at pricing, having pricing dynamic with local enterprises, enabling value-based pricing, different prices, not just one price for marketing, one price for one-time password, one price for notifications. And after we have this, the glorious numbers 4 and 5, making SMS rich, putting some analytics into SMS, making visuals possible within A2P SMS, and having A2P SMS being targeted. That is the real value that enterprises are looking for, and that is something that SMS can deliver today.
Theodore, that's SMS 2.0. We named it on the previous webinar, and let's roll with it. People started to use that as, oh, SMS 2.0 is RCS. It's not. Let's take it. Let's embrace it, and let's use that.
Yeah, and I really look forward to going into that. So if we could go a bit down to the next slide. On the fraud side, I mean, I suggest everyone that you don't underestimate that. So I will not name the exact operator, but in one of our partnerships with Vodafone in the EU, we've just extended our firewall to cover and monetize national A2P SMS, and we've grew traffic by 26%. And the team was very good. The practices they had were very, very good, and the price was not high. So honestly, it was a very good result. And if we go to the next slide, I'm sorry.
I can add here, actually, look at voice. For many years, there is a lot of anti-fraud solution around. There is a lot of evolution, market decline, but still we have SIM boxes doing voice. There are still fraud and bypass on voice. So SMS A2P will be the same. Fraud and bypass is something that will be always there. And wherever we want to monetize it, we have to deal with that. So anti-fraud and
I agree.
but that's anyway no-brainer. That should be there always. Otherwise, you get no money.
Absolutely, that's the foundation to any price changes. And yes, we work with a lot of mobile operators to do that. And if we go to the next slide, AI also believes we have a great firewall and technology, the best AI based firewall technology there is there, but in the purpose of time, I kindly ask that we go to the next slide and look at the sexy cousin of SMS, SMS 2.0, to which I invite Esan to talk about. But before that, I'll mention one more thing. In value-based pricing, this is a topic for which we've met today. It's important to understand how that can be done specifically. You need to, one part is commercial, one part is technology, right? So that goes to, for example, going to banks and saying, hey guys, today SMS is 5 cents. Tomorrow it will be 6 cents for marketing, 4 cents or 5 cents for one-time password, and 2 cents for notifications. What that means is that there are 3 different trunks that need to be created between you, the local aggregator, and the bank, or between you and the bank directly if it's a direct interconnection. But you need to have technology in order to audit that. We use it today even for international A2P SMS. Certain international companies are sending traffic that is not just one-time password, right? There's also other types of traffic. So to that, this is what our technology does. With our analytics, with AI, we are able to tell in real time whether there is arbitrage between these trunks. You would be surprised, but when you will offer a value-based pricing to an enterprise, they might try to send marketing traffic under notifications, which is the cheapest price that they have, and that obviously comes back and bites us in the targets. So for that reason, technology is the foundation on being able to do these things. And yes, this needs to be done in real time with AI, as our analytics does, in order to stop this type of fraud in real time. Yeah, so that's very important to consider. Without that, the launch of value-based pricing cannot be successful, and this is the prerequisite in order to do it today. Now, on the back of that, we've also been asked by different operators to do it ourselves. So it's the technology that can be done, or on the other side, we can also, some operators choose not to take this friction on, right? Because going to local enterprises, yes, there is a bit of friction initially saying that price will change. So sometimes we've also been asked to do that, but it also goes hand in hand with technology. I know everyone is waiting for SMS 2.0, so I do give it back to Esan. Sorry for the interruption.
I mean, the good, to your point, I think since WhatsApp is very aggressive in many markets and they're going to reach sooner or later all the markets, all the enterprises and aggregators and agencies will become familiar with this multi-level or dynamic pricing based on the use case. So I think if MNOs go and pitch the same way agencies, aggregators, will not be a surprise or will not be difficult to impose it, since already WhatsApp did the part of the job for them. Coming back to exciting SMS SMS Plus or SMS 2.0, the way that James named it. So this feature and this capability and this technology is available in the market since 2019. So it is not completely new, but in 2019, it was very limited to some certain phones, certain situations, certain context, and it was not that easy to scale. Now, based on our test and the way that we track and we monitor how it works and how it evolves, is supported by 80% of smartphones. So this capability and this possibility to send the SMS with a rich content, video, GIF animation type, or images, static images like you have this in the screen, plus description, plus title and landing page. So very similar experience that you see in the Instagram ads, right? In Instagram, you have a video or you have a photo image, you click, and then you land to a landing page, and the rest of the journey go from there. Same way can be done with SMS. So agencies and enterprises, they don't need to do much. They just, whatever they do with the Instagram, they can do with SMS. So actually our platform is capable to link even with to offer the agencies an API to launch their campaign the same way that they launch for Instagram. So for them, it's not like they need to learn a new way, a new platform, and new new ad tech type of things, type of campaign. So whatever they do with Instagram, same way works here. If they have a landing page that works for Instagram, because landing page in Instagram is provided by the agencies or by the enterprise and managed by them, they can also push it here with the same thing that they can also do with the Instagram image, landing page, click, description, and so on. In Instagram, actually, they don't have the possibility for, in most of the cases, to push description. In SMS Plus, we have the possibility to push also description. All they have to do is to integrate with our toolkit or our API to optimize the campaign and to optimize the link and message in an SMS in a manner to be shown on the phone the way that you see here, not on the right side, not like the one in the left side, and the MNOs to make sure that they do not block this type of campaigns, detecting them as a spam, smishing, or other things, right? Because the content and the way that these messages are sent is a little bit different than other type of messages.
Ehsan, unfortunately, I've got to cut you off, but you have said absolutely everything. I think the last thing I will mention is that this is all available on a revenue share basis as well, isn't it? No capex required, because that's something key for mobile network operators. That the whole capex thing is very, very tough.
Even more than this is on the incremental revenue, because the new revenue. So it's incremental revenue. Nobody right now doing money out of or revenue out of SMS Plus. So it's incremental revenue, and we are happy to go for the incremental revenue.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you're bringing a brand new revenue stream. You're not just holding what's there, but you're actually bringing increasing the revenue. And yeah, fantastic. That's exactly a perfect growth model. Now, everybody, there is time I've heard for 2 or 3 minutes of questions. If anyone has any questions for any of the participants here, then please go for it now. If not, we're done for today. So let me see. Any questions coming in? No, I think we're done. And it's been absolutely fantastic. And yes, I don't want to undo all the fantastic work I know Andra and Christine and everyone has done with SMS Plus, but I'm personally hijacking SMS 2.0, what RCS used to be called, because that frames it perfectly. This is SMS truly reborn, and it gives SMS fresh legs for another good few years, because people constantly complain about it being very gray and flat and boring, and this changes it. This rewrites the game, turns it on its head entirely, and shows you that SMS can be truly, truly interesting. And it brings the fight, because it is a fight, mobile network operators, to the likes of Meta and Google. It's that simple. So there are no questions I can see, but Ehsan, thank you very much for joining.
Thank you,
the
Jim.
Founder and CEO of Vox Solutions. Theodore, managing all the business development for Vox globally, Chief of Business Development. Thank you. And Sam, a pleasure as always. We've done this so many times, so many different forums, but the topic never gets boring. But this is new. And I like what Ehsan said, that this technology has been around since 2019, but now the handsets have caught up. It's good to go, and it's great opportunity to be rolled out.
80% of the handset as per our analysis and tests and POCs that we did, and the campaigns that we ran. But this is growing, so in a couple of years, we expect to be 100% supported by all the handset and all the iOS.
Fantastic. So if a handset isn't capable of receiving this SMS Plus, then it's just the regular SMS. It's detuned basically as a regular.
Exactly. But okay, it should be optimized in a certain manner. Still, you can send SMS and not showing even if the handset is capable for to
perfect
support. But what I like to James, I like to ask you something.
Sure.
If you make any article about SMS 2.0 because you like this, also mention AK SMS Plus by Voxel.
AKA books. Don't worry, I won't undo all the wonderful work your marketing team have done, spent hours and hours and thousands of dollars or whatever on. So
that
yeah.
would be appreciated.
No, I think I can do that.
We don't want to compete on the names with you because you get beaten. So we don't want.
I don't think so. No problem at all. Anyway, Ehsan, lovely seeing you. Sam, thanks. Theodore, Christina, Andrea, everyone in the background putting this together, much appreciated. Wouldn't happen without you. And everyone listening and watching, thanks for being here. Another Vox Solutions webinar. Thank you very much, folks.